You know the one who never blinks through chaos. Tape the truth off late night cable. We grew up on static and midnight shows. MTV raised us, you already know. Latchkey hearts and wild-eyed dreams. Feral minds tearing at the seams. You say it's too much to unpack, but I see you awake and I've got your back. Talk to me, I'm that Gen X friend. No judgment here, just truth and a Walkman blend. We screamed at the world, no one replied, but we danced through it all, yeah, we survived.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome or welcome back to that Gen X Friend podcast. I was looking at myself previously in the camera and I was like, I look like I'm either about to go out and work in the farm or I'm legit like Gen X, like, because we were all into flannels and stuff. Anyways, I'm over that. So before I start, I want to give a shout out to MB Radio for giving me this platform to share. Really, very, very much so grateful for this. So moving on, I wanted to talk about something perhaps from a different perspective, what everybody's talking about in light of the tragic events that sort of brought us here, opened the floodgates, if you would describe it that way, between Charlie Kirk and that woman in Charlotte, North Carolina. It seemed like it was just it was just too much for the collective. But I don't want to discuss the politics of it because there's so much to say about that. And I'm sure most people have heard enough where our head is about to explode. I know I have, but that was my choice because I couldn't make sense of it. I couldn't make sense of it at all. At first, I was just floored. I've never been I'm not one to discuss that sort of stuff anyways. I have my own views, as most people do, but that's neither here or there. Because most of us have what we believe, abundant reasons for believing what we believe in, and it's your right. We live here in America. There's no such thing as mind control. Unfortunately, or there shouldn't be anything such as mind control. And with that, that's a whole nother can of worms. Like everything that's led up to this, every point could be their own can of worms and infinite rabbit hole we can all dive into. And but I did want to say why I want to cover this from my own perspective. Truly, I have never been so emotionally devastated. Like, I didn't really watch Charlie Kirk. Definitely, I didn't know the woman, right? Until a delayed media response to her death brought upon by independent media, such as YouTubers and podcasters and so on and so forth. But to be honest, I didn't know who truly watched Charlie Kirk, or even I listened. I saw like little clips here and there because he would pop up, like, prove me wrong. Like, okay. And it didn't impact me either way. But when I heard the news, I had a very strong visceral reaction, which surprised me. Like, I've never responded to somebody who I never knew, who I didn't follow, who I knew very little about, in the way that I did really shortly after when the event happened. And it's taken me since it happened to try to find, I'm like, why? Why am I responding this way? Why are the masses responding the way they are? Obviously, you can draw your conclusions on how people respond. There's a portion of the population who's sending prayers and sympathy, and there's a group that's celebrating his tragic demise, all based on their own beliefs of who this man was. And you can decide. I'm not going to tell you. I want to say that it should have not happened. It's a slippery slope. Things like this, for this generation, for my generation, for Gen X, the closest one that I was not born to experience or be a part of that history was Malcolm X. That's the only, not Malcolm X, MLK. Although Malcolm X was also, just, I guess, is not the same notoriety, but something similar. Or JFK, if you know about that. But Charlie Kirk was not a politician. Granted, you can say that he's part of that population, right? But what happened to him should have never happened. And I was floored. I didn't understand why. Like I said, I was crying, and it was such a strong feeling, like I had lost something that I cherished. And it baffled me. I mean, it didn't baffle me because I felt shocked, bewildered by what had happened. What shocked me was the celebration of it, regardless of what side you're on. And you can, I don't have to contribute to that portion of, I'm not going to argue politics. I'm not going to argue any of it. It's a free country. You're allowed to have your own ideas about what party you want to support or whatever. But I've been trying to work through, what can I gain from this? What can I gain? The lessons can I gain from this? And it was hard to parse through all the stuff that I was feeling. Because I feel that where I stand, I believe, based on morals and ethics, that I couldn't celebrate that, right? And I felt sort of pious, like, oh, look at blah, 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 blah. And then I thought deeper, beyond justifying my own beliefs. And calming my own ego, or whatever you want to say it is. And I think I didn't arrive at this quickly. And I thought about the man that made me respond this way. And actually, his death made me watch his stuff. I never watched it before. I never actually sat there and tried to listen to this. And whether you agree with him or not, and I don't agree with him on everything. I don't even agree with myself on everything. Half the time I'm like, what the hell did you just say? Wow, that was crazy. So it's actually, I didn't find it unusual that I didn't agree with him on everything. But what I did agree with him on was believing in God and Jesus. And then I saw beyond what he was saying. And when I say it's not about me agreeing with him or not, but it's about the lessons that I learned that's in the book that I read, in the Bible that I read, and what he was trying to do, right? It went far beyond him and the lessons that I'm trying to learn to be a better person. And in the light of tragedy, it's so easy to become all, I don't know, thrown into this wave of all these voices saying this or that or the other. And because there's so many tragedies that's always happening around the world, especially with the internet, we hear it so much more now because it's easy. If it happens 1 second, it's on the news, right? Typically. And we hear these things and we don't even have a moment to reflect. And when we do have a moment to reflect, I find myself just moving on to the next one, the next one, and seldom coming back to see what lessons could be learned from these tragedies, man. And it breaks my heart to maybe I move on because it breaks my heart and I don't want to look into it and see what I can learn. And that's a vulnerability, and that's in a way we protect ourselves that way, and it's understandable. But I couldn't move on from this one because it impacted me so in such a way that I'm still trying to understand. And what I've gathered so far is that regardless of where you stand, that's not the point. The point is how can we look at ourselves, right? Just say you disagree with the celebration, and I do too. But how many people were silently celebrating, right? You didn't know about it. Is that okay? Have we found ourselves silently celebrating, not verbally condoning or celebrating anything, but just silently, like a sigh of relief, like, oh my God. Whether it happens through natural causes or you don't condone violence, but if it happened, you're like, oh my God, have those thoughts bubbled up. And I can say that I've had thoughts about my enemies, not in a destructive way, but I have had thoughts about my enemies in which the lessons of the Bible, Jesus didn't just say, if you commit murder, that's bad. He said, if you even thought about it, you're doing the same thing. And that's the one thing that kept reverberating in my mind. Sure, you can stand here looking at everybody voicing their opinions and say you stand with the side that you believe is right. And in your heart, have you ever committed that sin of even thinking about it where Jesus says is wrong? Or celebrating something, a demise of somebody you believe is on the other side of the aisle of where you stand, whether morally wrong or not. And I truly stand with the people that condemned this that happened. But I can say I've been guilty of that in the past. Because when we pick sides, sometimes we may not condone violence. Even the silent celebrations, that's a sin too. And it was hard for me to digest all this. I'm like, what do you mean? I literally was judging this lesson, and it was really hard because it put a mirror to my soul, not just my face. I can be shocked and appalled at other people's actions, but have I ever harbored vile thoughts myself? I can say I have. And that makes me just as much as a sinner. Just as bad, I believe. Now, there is a right and wrong. That's what the Bible teaches us, right? And there's accountability. I don't doubt that accountability should happen. And there is a righteous anger, and I believe it is proper. Where do we draw the line on even contained hatred in our own minds? Because it is a poison. This is not, I don't share this because I'm saying, oh, you should do this and do that. I'm just here sharing because I have to confess, while I feel like I'm standing on the right side of this reactionary response, I couldn't say that I don't have really horrifying thoughts sometimes, dark thoughts about who I think is my enemy. I don't carry them out. I wrestle with it, but mostly when I have them, I justify it like, oh, they were such blah, 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 blah. They did this, and of course I should hate them and blah, whatever. It is not about justifying their wrongs. This is not. What they did was wrong. But what I'm doing myself is also to myself in my own mind is also wrong, because I don't want to be I don't want to contribute to any of it. I really do want to. I want to be a person who takes the lessons from the Bible and make it actionable within my own mind, whether people know or not, in my life, whether people see it or not. I don't want to have those vile thoughts, but have them be replaced with, yes, accountability should happen, but the intention in which I'm coming from should not come from a place of hate or hatred. Because forgive me, I'm not a theologian, nor have I memorized the Bible. I'm not very good at that, but there are lessons where God says, you should hate the enemies of God, right? But the hatred in which I'm justifying the delivery of accountability, I want to remove that, but come from a place of good. Because as a parent, when I found this so enlightening, because this is the only way you can learn, right? I didn't see this as a child. I didn't understand it, nor could I even wrap my head around it as a kid. Parents deliver lessons and hold kids accountable. They should come from a place of love. Not all parents do now, right? Because we all know those parents who do not. But those who really do love their kids will hold their kids accountable. But they do it from a place of love. That's what I'm saying. Some do it from a place of hate. The actions may be the same, but the intent is not. What I'm saying is that the lessons that I've gathered is to look inward and perhaps what we hate to see in others that triggers us is because we recognize that in ourselves too. And it's a hard pill to swallow. Man, is it hard, because we want to be right. We want to feel justified. We want to have this feeling of piety. But simply stating we're right. And you could be perfectly right, but the intent is from a place of malice, right? But not from love. Could be a slippery slope for ourselves, for me, right? So as hard as this has been, apparently I haven't been able to find words for any of my thoughts, and I didn't sleep last night either. Great. So the biggest thing that I gather from this is self-reflection. If I hate to see that, then I should not then justify my own behavior that reflects the same thing, right? I shouldn't, and I have to take that to heart, no matter how justified I feel. Accountability has to happen. It does, for all this stuff, but from a place of love. And I'm still trying to figure out, I don't know what it's hard to parse out right now, because there's so many strong emotions still that's just coursing through my veins. But I know now the seed has been planted that I should check myself first to see what my intent is in saying what I say, even though what I say is on the right side of the argument, whatever you can categorize it as, right? But are my intentions good? And that's going to take some real that will take some real honesty to see. Am I just being vile inside while letting where I stand justify the actions? I don't know. I don't know. One song that popped up recently for me is that One Tin Soldier, I believe. It's not, I think it's from Gen X era. Maybe it's a little bit earlier. But go ahead, try to listen to that. I'm not saying it fully applies to the situation. I haven't even really listened to it again. But that's the one song that it keeps repeating itself in my mind. And if we want the world to be better, it's easy to say how other people should change. But the hard work actually starts with us. If everyone just did work on themselves, and try to be a better person themselves, I think there will be a lot less of this sort of division. Because self-reflection, I really do think takes, it's a lot more difficult, is what I'm trying to say, than pointing at someone else. Because when you point at someone else, or others, let's say, you not only have one finger most likely pointing at you, you probably have multiple. So I am, and the one silver lining, I suppose, for me, and it doesn't have to be for you, that I derive from this tragedy is to be more self-reflective, to really, as somebody who believes in God and Jesus and the lessons that are being taught, is to look at myself first, to remove the plank from my eye and just do better. Because I'm a sinner. It's hard to say, but it's the truth. And I have to change, and I have to take this lesson to heart, not just say that I'm trying to learn, but actually make it actionable and hold myself accountable first. I am the start of accountability, because if I let myself go and give myself all kinds of excuses, what makes me better than anybody else? It doesn't. It's not even thoughts about somebody who opposes you. Most people, I would dare say, without any sort of like guessing, that I believe most people alive have gone through, or if not all people alive have gone through, some sort of tragedy that's deeply impacted them, that was caused by somebody else. And in the hurt, in the moment, in the pain, while it's understandable that we have all kinds of strong feelings. I mean, I'm not talking about, oh, it was just really strong. I'm talking about overwhelming things that will floor people, take your breath away feelings. Sure, the momentary response, oh my God, because it feels right. It feels, justified. But in the moment of calm, can we say that it's not good? Most of us can contain ourselves, but there are some that can't. And I don't want to contribute that, not within myself, to justify anything anymore. And this is a learning experience. I don't know how I will be in the moment and constantly confronted, because I was confronted yesterday in a situation. I didn't have hateful feelings, but man, I felt myself get angry. And then I'm like, even if you call people names, like, he is such a blah, she is such a blah, right? That doesn't come from a place of love or the lessons that I'm trying to follow. Why was I angry? Was it because of my ego? Was it because whatever. It could be all of it. But I'm starting to see that I do have responses. And in the moment, I couldn't stop myself because it was so instantaneous. But I'm reflecting on it today. Righteous anger is great. But this person didn't come up and punch me. It was, sure, I thought they were rude. But did it justify me thinking in my mind, man, this person is a blah, 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 blah? Did it justify it? Or did it just make me feel better to have some sort of venom come out in my mind? And I can tell you, it didn't. Regardless of what the person did, which I thought was just purely rude, it didn't justify my own venom. It didn't help me. It made me feel more angry. And I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person to even have that sort of energy out there. Again, I'm not saying be a passive like, oh, you just come up and punch me and I do whatever. No, there is righteous anger. Obviously, it is taught in the Bible. There is righteous anger. But how we deliver lessons and how we deliver accountability should also flow from righteousness and what Jesus tried to teach, those lessons. And they're hard to accept on face value. You mean if somebody slapped me, I'm going to give them the other cheek, right? I still wrestle with it, but it's because of this world shattering event, and it is world shattering around the world. People are actually in Korea, in Japan, all these places you wouldn't think would have in response to his assassination have responded. It is purely because of this that I've now been willing to look at myself and say, hey, dudette, yeah, you didn't pull the trigger, but have you thought about hate? Have you hated? Have you had hate, just heinous thoughts? Yeah, right. That's why they say for anybody who's Christian that we all contributed to the suffering that Jesus had to endure on the cross. And and knowing this, I'm grateful by grace that my sins have been repented for. But man, I don't, knowing what I know now, seeing what I see now, self-accountability, if I can lessen it, consciously lessen it, I'm going to do my best to do that. That's the lesson that I got. It wasn't an easy lesson for me to get. And I know I'm going to have to keep on consciously making the decision not to justify my own whatever actions, whether they're right or not, with intentions that do not align with this justifiable action, right? Or accountability, however you want to say it. I want my intent to be in line with righteous anger or righteous accountability, however, with reason. Like, you can't just say, well, I'm right and you're wrong, and therefore, and of course, but if I find that behind it, even though the action is correct, what's feeding it is from a place of darkness and not a place of light, I'm going to have to check myself. And And if anything good comes out of that, I can say that I was blind and now I see. Doesn't make me better. It doesn't instantaneously make me able to be able to I don't know, self-correct, but at least I know now. And it is due to tragedy. So many different tragedies around the world, and I don't want to be callous towards them. And sometimes it is not out of callousness that I can't delve into everything, but it's because it hurts the heart and soul and those with morality and passion, compassion, sympathy, love towards others. And maybe sometimes we shield ourselves, but this is one topic that I found to be unavoidable. It is literally everywhere. It is unavoidable. And also I'm opening myself up to that sort of, to hearing this. So I do take accountability for that, but it is somewhat unavoidable. And what a hard lesson to learn. I'm not that good person. When I get angry, I have really angry thoughts, and it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help the situation. It doesn't keep me calm. I guess I'm just going to have to keep on learning, keep on reading the word, and be humble enough to recognize my own darkness, and do my best not to contribute to it, whether it is in my head or not. Because have I gotten in screaming fights with my own family members? Yeah. That takes, and there's hateful stuff being said. That's not good either. This applies to every situation. And I'm going to hold myself accountable and reflect and do what I can to make amends and correct the situation when I can. So, yeah, it's not about sides. It is, but it isn't. Not the sides that they are, not the sides the popular or popularized by people, but take a side in which helps us be better people. And then we can just do that ourselves, each one of us, to be better people. What a difference that would make. I'm going to hold myself accountable. Yeah. So I hope I added a different perspective. I know I've been more, I feel more incoherent because I have not really slept well. And it's hard to gather all my thoughts, especially with something like this that's impacted me. I appreciate you guys joining me on this podcast and listening. I am praying for all of us. For all of us. No sides. For all of us. To find that peace. To find a joy. By removing what's making us feel terrible. Or what we're justifying. What we justify our actions with, right? And switch it out with love, compassion. So thank you again. Until next time, 2 weeks from now, be blessed. Stay safe. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.